Oh, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. So stoked to be back with you guys. 2 weeks, week and a half. It's been way too long to say we are officially back. We are pre-gaming with Bordzy. Hello, what up, and welcome. This show is also a presentation of Bet365. Almost forgot to do that. It's been a minute. Shout out to Bet365, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary. Download the app today and use the promo code NATION. We are live from Greta Bar, downtown Edmonton, because, Coombsy, it is brunch for Ben, my favorite event out of all the events, out of all the Nation vacations we do, even some of the playoff games we do here. Brunch for Ben. There's just nothing like it. This place is already filling up. Already saw McMullet. Christopher Palmer's over there. It's an all-ages family event going on today. And Coombsy, I am stoked not only to be back, I missed all of you in the chat. We'll talk about everything that we've missed over the break. And Bordzy was, in fact, on vacation. I don't look very tanned. It was short-lived. Brett, I don't even want to hear it from you. I don't even want to hear it from you. But Coombsy, we are back. And I'm stoked to be here for Brunch for Ben.
We're incredibly back, and we're both incredibly stoked to be here. It was a fun break, though, I've got to say. Like, usually when you have the NHL All-Star break and the games are away for a few days, it's just a snooze fest. Nobody's interested. But this Four Nations, I mean, a lot of people came into this feeling skeptical. This isn't going to be that interesting. Will the players care that much? This was way more fun than anybody imagined. And Canada having just won gold on Thursday, the Oilers coming out of that, will it lead to some momentum for the team? I don't know.
Connor McDavid pick up right where he left off, scoring the overtime winner. Also, I just want to say, the people that had doubts about the Four Nations, like, I kind of understand it, but I didn't have a single doubt the entire time. We keep politics out of pre-gaming. We don't do that here. But you knew that there was just going to be an extra atmosphere. The booing of the anthems, the Trump phone calls and chirps, Brandon Hagel with the group chat stuff. It was absolutely electric. But before we get into that, people, I got to see what you're all talking about. So let's check in with the chat. First comment of the day, Austin was in fact slacking. He did get in there, though. But it's Blake, and he's in, and he says, Matt Savoie legacy game incoming. That's right, folks. Matt Savoie, the one in the return for Ryan McLeod this past summer, going to make his Oilers debut this evening on the wing of Leon Draisaitl. Jeff Skinner shaking his fist at Cloud, saying, what the fuck does a guy got to do to keep his spot there? Electronic Jordan says, so excited to have Bordzy back in my life. I missed each and every one of you. Coombsy, you did the last pre and post. I watched both of the entire shows. I even joined Oilersnation After Dark because you can't keep a good man down. I miss y'all. I love it too much. I'm a sicko. I'm a sick pup out there, and I just love you guys too much. Mr. Burns, one of the OGs, says, let's go Oilers. Beautiful day for a win. And then Brett, she also says, cup yeah.
Cup yeah.
Cup yeah. Electronic Jordan with a cup yeah in there.
Cup yeah.
Lance Kane with a wee back baby. Cup yeah.
Cup yeah.
And we got Rusty's in. Let's go Oilers. He says, Bordzy's back. What up, Coombsy? Rusty, maybe I just haven't been checking Twitter enough, but I need to see that Canada shirt at the gym for 7 days straight. That's a solid bet to make. It felt weird cheering against Rusty for the last week and a half here. It was clashing. I didn't like it. He's the optimist for a reason. We're back to all cheering for the same squad in the Edmonton Oilers. This is a great one from Braden. I forgot Dry was leading the league in goals by 7 goals. LOL.
He's on pace for 60, and nobody else is on pace for 50.
He has such a healthy lead. I'm not using the L word for that Rocket Richard, but I do like my plus 450 Hart Trophy ticket. Now Nathan McKinnon, of course, he's also there. Also won the MVP for Team
Connor
Canada.
Hellebuck as well.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Not the best performance on Thursday.
Oh, you mean a loser?
Yep. Silver medalist.
Bang! Hey, who am I?
Runner-up.
Who am I?
Anybody on the American team?
Bang! One of the Kachuk brothers.
Silver medal group chat.
Yeah, I know. What a bunch of losers.
You know what's funny? My girlfriend's mother works for Brandon Hagel's father. She came over to my house yesterday to show photos of Brandon Hagel and the celebration afterwards. Connor McDavid with the cup.
1 out of 10 wrecked. How'd he look?
About a 4. He was put together. His
That's
brother,
a Berta boy. He knows how to put it back.
His brother was not, though.
Yeah, well,
that was about a 10.
If my brother won a championship, I'd be way sloppier than he would. And I think vice versa. I think Brady Tkachuk was probably the greatest example of that.
Boys.
Oh, by the way, I loved you all out here, and Lance pointed out behind us that we are more peach than princess.
Absolutely.
Also, you guys can't really tell because we're I mean, you can kind of tell. Coombsy, let's give him a shot. We are doing the show live from a bed right now at Greta Bar. They had this out for Valentine's Day. I think they forgot that we were coming here.
I thought it was because it was a brunch game and we're doing like breakfast in bed.
I wanted to do it in the back under the covers. And
you wanted to do what in the back?
The show.
Pause. In the bed?
Pregaming's back. We're so back already. We're making jokes like that. But people, I missed y'all. First, there's a couple things. Let's touch on the Four Nations. Then I'll mention some things awesome about Brunch for Ben, because that is why we are here at Greta Bar. Can't say I come to bars very often before 9 a.m. Today was a little bit of a different story. In fact, the last time I was at a bar in the a.m. like that early.
An airport bar?
No, I guess a real non-airport bar. Good point. 2014 Sochi Olympics.
Yeah.
When they took on the final, the gold medal game. I had to sneak into Average Joe's in Sherwood Park. Stood up the entire time. What an evening, baby. What a memory. But Coombsy, how was your break overall? I think we all got sick at Oilers Nation.
Yeah, we had just like the Oilers did right before the break, we had a little virus run through the staff, and everybody was kind of going down one at a time. But I was honestly pretty locked in on the Four Nations. Like, I thought I was going to have a casual interest, tune in. I watched almost all the games, and we covered it like crazy at the website and put a lot of stuff on social media. It was honestly a really good time. I enjoyed it 10 times more than I thought I was going to.
Jeff Merrick was a guy I know, and he even kind of pointed out himself that he was like, maybe I'm just getting old, but he doubted the tournament completely. And then immediately after that first game against Sweden, he goes, all right, I'm fully in on this thing. Couple questions. Do you think Nathan MacKinnon was the deserved MVP of the tournament? I don't necessarily think there was a wrong choice, especially in such a short tournament. You only play 4 games. MacKinnon obviously led the team in goals, scored 4 of them over that tournament. But I feel like the options were Nate Dogg, Jordan Binnington, who was absolutely electric. I made the joke on ONE yesterday. Me, never said a bad word about Jordan Binnington ever in my life. We're sitting there here at Greta for that gold medal overtime, and we're all just, if you saw on Instagram, you should go and check the live celebration of the McDavid goal, because dead sober, I blacked out in that moment. I don't even know what happened. Shout out to Waz for filming that thing. I picked it up, and I'm just, like it was an all-time moment.
I was not sober, and I will remember that moment for the rest of my life, shockingly.
Brett, I think, cares about Canada maybe as much or even more than the Edmonton Oilers. He was a bag of sweat over there.
I saw those videos of him shouting at people, shouting at the TV.
Yeah, I was
charged up.
I get wildly patriotic when it comes to Canadian hockey, and especially when it comes against the Americans and the Russians. So, you're goddamn right. I'm going to bear this Maple Leaf baby. What's up?
Got me feeling nicey. Ooh. Oh, nice. That was real tight in there. Okay, who's your MVP of the tournament? Who would you vote for?
I think it was a tough one because, this is such a quick tournament, and it was more like who was good in this game, who was good in that game. I think giving it to MacKinnon was fine because they gave Connor McDavid the player of the game after he scored the overtime goal. You honor one player, you honor another. You get to showcase 2 stars in the league. I think it worked out for the NHL just fine.
Yeah, right. I don't think there's a single bad choice you could make. And the fact that they had to give in their ballots 10 minutes before the end of the third, and it then goes into overtime.
A lot of time left.
I don't think anyone predicted that Jordan Binnington was going to do what he did in overtime. I think had anyone known that, he would have been my MVP for sure. But there is no bad choices out there. And who do you think it's a question everyone's talking about, right? Is Italy 2026 less than 365 days away? And we get to watch that shit all over again with arguably even more stakes on the line. I hate the jokes. I mean, I love some of the jokes. I love Jason Gregor. There was a part in my take clip that went right over his head of them being satirical and being a comedy podcast, calling it the NHL All-Star Game and that it didn't matter. We heard it from all the athletes, all the players playing in that tournament. It meant a lot. Some of them said it was the biggest game they had played in their lives. Some of them had even played some important Game 7s in their lives, so it did mean a lot. But who on that team disappointed you the most and maybe exceeded your expectations most? Who do you think could be a guy that won't be on the team in 2026? And who's a guy that was maybe on the bubble that you weren't very sure about, but really showed off in the tournament and as a lock next year?
I think the one player that put a name for himself in that tournament on Team Canada was Brandon Hagel. I think he kind of turned into a fan favorite for Team Canada, just one of those sort of random middling players that Canada put on, because they want to have the top 6, bottom 6. Then a lot of fans will say, oh, well, you should have 4 lines full of scorers rather than having checkers. But you see what having checkers like that, him, Sam Bennett, the roles that they played. Yeah, guys like that, they came through. It sounds cheesy, it sounds cliche, but it is ultimately true. Those guys on Tampa and on Florida played in a lot of big games, and they know how to come through in big games. So I can't really think of a player who lessened their case for me. Jordan Binnington was another positive one. He's definitely the starter for the Olympics now for me as well. Like, he definitely earned that. But those are 2 guys that really, I thought, made better cases throughout that tournament.
I thought for me, Sam Bennett was a guy that was on the bubble for me of like, initially when the lineups came out, he was supposed to be a winger and whatnot. I'm like, okay, that should be Zach Hyman without a doubt. That's a guy that should be switched off. But in a tournament where you mentioned you can't just have all elite scorers on there. You need to have chameleons of hockey that can, get into any situation possible. And Sam Bennett's one of those guys. He's thick, he's nasty, he's mean, he's still got hands. That goal he scored in the final, nasty roofing that thing over top of Connor Hellebuck's shoulder. Mitch Marner, up and down tournament, that's got to be big for his confidence, right?
Ride,
right, absolutely insane. During the tournament, I'm saying, what is this dude doing on Connor McDavid's wing for most of this tournament? He
looked very out of place. And then all of a sudden, the championship game, 2 of the nicest passes you'll see.
Mitch Marner, clutch, question mark? Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. It's just one time, but I hope it could be big for his confidence.
Austin Matthews' coverage in overtime, oof.
Woof,
that looked like a Leafs game 7.
And he would have almost had the game-winning goal. Of course, Brett, were you pointing at right now?
The Nation truck just pulled up, so you know what that means.
Yaremchuk's here. I think he got in super, super late last night as well.
Yikes.
That's tough go. Hey, daily face-off coverage was absolutely fantastic for the Four Nations. Shout out to Patrick Puff behind the scenes because he was producing everything. I know how tough of a gig that is, and he nailed it, knocked it out of the park. Shout out to all of them, Frank Staravoli as well, Nick Caroli, Alma Dell. It's the Nation Network. We up, baby. We on the way up. Also, reminder, let's do it now. Trade deadline coming up March 7th. We got an entire show going on for that one. It is going to be insane. I will actually be the one producing that one behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons. I mentioned it yesterday on ONE that you can prepare as much as you want for a show like this and everything. You basically get 2 minutes into the show and you can just throw it all out the window because everything's up in the air. Everything's going to change. And that is the funnest of them all. So tune in to the Daily Face-Off YouTube channel March 7th, 11 a.m. Eastern. So 9 a.m. Mountain Standard if you're here in Edmonton. And we might even go over the time. Who knows? We're going to have all kinds of analysts, guests, former players, maybe even some current players. Like last year, we had Jake Allen on the show like 20 minutes after he got traded. Where else are you getting that? Checkmate, TSN. There we go, brother. It is on. But yeah, remember to tune in to that one. It is going to be an awesome time. Final one, Brett, I forgot. We want to make the poll. Are we calling McDavid's goal? What are we calling it? So the 2 options I've heard so far, Golden Goal 2.0 or the McGolden goal. I want to start pushing the McGolden goal.
Yeah, I like that.
Is there anything else? Is that what you go with?
Yeah, I dig that.
Brett,
that's fun.
Throw that into a poll. I expect it to be at least 90-10 for the McGolden goal. And, very similar to Sidney Crosby, kind of. I mean, it's more for that.
15 years apart, too, almost to the day.
Absolutely.
Really?
Insane,
I didn't realize
brother.
that when the game was being played that it was that close together.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
And the thing I want to mention is, like, Connor McDavid in that game, I hate to say it, he was struggling. He couldn't handle the puck. It was bouncing all over his stick, like a bouncing Betty out there. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of World War II shows lately over the break, but it was a struggle for him all throughout, and you could see he was visibly frustrated. He even said after the game he didn't do a whole heck of a lot out there, but finally in the clutch, that's what Connor McDavid does. And similar, if you people remember in 2010, there was a lot of discussion about how Sidney Crosby was not playing well in that tournament. He had been a little bit of a disappointment. I'm not sure if he had 1 goal or 0 goals leading into that tournament. And then what do you know? Big players make big plays. Ice in his veins, Connor McDavid. He is next up on this one. But should we turn the page now and should we talk about the Edmonton Oilers? Because actually, before we do that, let's do an ad read for Odd Company Nation Beer Everyday Lager. It's brunch for Ben. I think we got confirmation they don't serve beers until 11 a.m.
Rough.
So, I mean, I guess we're going to have to wait for that one. It's Shout out to Greta. Shout out to Odd Company Nation Beer Everyday Lager. Perfect for game day. Perfect for every day of the week. I always recommend 2 of these bad boys for every 3 periods. It's going to get you in the right state of mind, the right mind frame there, and to vibe out and have an excellent time. And we're going to have a couple of them here this afternoon today. I almost said this evening. It's 10:15 in the morning, Bordzy. Let's bring it together. But Coombsy, it's been a minute since the Edmonton Oilers have played a hockey game. We did get a look at some lineups, some line rushers earlier this week in practice. Brett, you can throw those up. Calm down, everybody. Derek Ryan will not be playing 1C tonight, at least.
What?
Waz has immediately just shot his eyes over. And
he's wearing his Derek Ryan jersey.
Double autographed Derek Ryan jersey for my boy Matthew Wozniak. Probably the only person to ever own something like that. But we saw this look. So it's RNH Ryan, who's a placeholder, filling in for McDavid with Zach Hyman. So the Oilers' top line, we're coming right back to it after the break, and we're going to hit him. We're going to hit him hard. Then it's Podkolzin with Leon Draisaitl, and look at that name next to him. It's the Oilers' debut for one Matt Savoie. Incredibly excited to see what he can bring. Chris Knobloch has been very clear that he is going to give this guy a consistent run here and going to put him in the top 6. We'll talk about how Jeff Skinner must feel about that a little bit later on in the show. Look at your third line there, Skinner, Henrique, and Brown, a trio that has looked good in spurts this season. And Jeff Skinner, if we remember, right before the break, playing his best hockey as an Edmonton Oiler by far, not even close, putting up points, shooting the puck, but most importantly, playing defensively responsible. And then your fourth line, Kapanen, Matthias Janmark, who I may have seen on my vacation when I was in Arizona. I will leave it at that, but bumped into Matthias Janmark, and I was like, is that who I think that is? He was an awesome dude. He's fantastic. Great guy, enjoying the weather, just like I was as well.
You were on vacation?
No, I wasn't actually. I'm just lying.
Strange.
We're done with that bit. We are done with that bit.
I
am back, and I am not that tanned anymore. So we're done with it. In practice, it was Nurse and Klingberg. Stetcher with Bouchard because Ekholm was not skating. He had also played in the Four Nations face-off. And then it's our boys, Brett Kulak and Ty Emerson, which, may I remind people?
Don't.
Brett Kulak has a 3-block shot lead over Ty Emerson in the tattoo bet currently right now.
Can I just say I was
terrible bet?
No, you can't.
No, it wasn't. Okay, I just want to say,
player that gets less ice time per game.
Really quick though, I was looking at the stats from that game. You have an extra block shot.
Well, I wasn't doing the last game.
Officially, Brett Kulak has 14. Emerson is 12. Just want to put it out
Weren't you the one doing the last game?
I didn't update it last game. You did it. I just want to
maybe I'm lying.
Weren't you on vacation last game?
No, it's just goddamn. A lot of people in your Southpaw. I am excited. First of all, he also said, yo, where are they? We're at Greta Bar, downtown Edmonton. Where else would we be? My favorite spot in the entire city. But Coombsy, what are your expectations for a little bit of a Matt Savoie in this evening? I mentioned Nobby said he's going to get a consistent run. He was officially recalled this morning, 21 years of age, about to make his Edmonton Oilers debut. Nobby had a quote. He said, we want to give him a little leeway, runway of playing and seeing where he fits in. I absolutely believe he is a player that can play in the NHL. Coombsy, what are your expectations for Savoie in this game? And let's say over the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
I mean, this is an interesting thing for the Oilers because they've got just under 2 weeks until the trade deadline, a handful, about 5 or 6 games left on the schedule that they'll be able to play. Run Matt Savoie in that top 6 role with Leon Draisaitl. Maybe he'll get a run with Connor McDavid. We'll see. But we're seeing if he can be that top 6 winger for the Oilers that adds speed and skill on their top 2 lines. Because if he can be that winger, then you can check that off of their pre-trade deadline needs, and then instead you're focusing on centers, you're focusing on adding to the blue line. So that's kind of what they're seeing right now. And then still, you brought up Jeff Skinner earlier, guys like that. Victor Arvidsson too, of course. He suited up for Team Sweden. Don't know if he's going to be playing or not, but those guys in the bottom 6 now are going to have to also prove that they can be better than Matt Savoie. So there's more competition, more players involved. That's what the Oilers need right now, is players that don't know what spots they're going to be in, and they have to earn those spots down the stretch.
Internal competition in the Edmonton Oilers organization has arguably never been higher, specifically on the wings, man. When you look at the depth chart now, and you've got Arvidsson, Skinners, Savoies, Podkolzins, Kapanens, Corey Perry's, that doesn't even mention Evander Kane or anyone else that they could pick up at the trade deadline. I think everybody has noticed they have to be on their A game, and specifically their defensive A game. If you want to get that top 6 spot, Nobby has been very clear this entire season that you need to be defensively responsible, defensively capable, and there's a lot of guys here that have skill. You could throw any number of them out there, but it's who's going to be committed in their defensive end, because that is what Nobby wants. Now, back to Matt Savoie here. I think there's a couple reasons why Nobby says that he absolutely believes there is an NHL player in there. And first, we'll start off with his speed, right? Matt Savoie is an incredibly good and fast skater. No better example of that than when he in the AHL All-Star game, I should say, won the fastest skater competition, which was actually 0.2 of a second slower than Connor McDavid at the 2024 All-Star event there. So those are some ridiculous speeds. We probably all saw it online. It was circulating all over the place, and that's something you can't teach, right? Speed, you either got it or you don't. And in today's modern NHL, that's something you need to bring. Bruce Kurlock wrote a good article on Oilersnation.com mentioning that, it might bring you to one of his cons, that because Matt Savoie is so small, he's so low to the ice, and his strides are so powerful along the ice there, and it kind of helps him get out of jams that otherwise his size might put him into those jams. Second off, we know he has the offensive instincts, right? And maybe it's not necessarily he's quick off the rush and that type of stuff. He is smart, quick decision-making type of player. He gets that puck off his stick in a second or two. He's got an unreal shot on there, but he's got the high hockey IQ to quickly process the game, either give it a pass, a give and go, who knows, shoot that puck, which I think with a guy like Leon Draisaitl, the sky is the limit. I understand he's still 21 years old, but from what I've seen and from what the smartest man at Oilersnation.com, Bruce Kurlock, has been telling me about Matt Savoie, I am very excited to see this. And then comes with some of those knocks, right? You can't have pros without cons, and I think the most notable one is Matt Savoie's size. He is 5'9", which I'm sorry to all my short kings out there. Brett, how tall are you?
5'10" on Tinder.
Attaboy.
That's how I got my girlfriend, baby.
I was about to say, get in the second part there.
She still gives me shit.
Attaboy. I'm 6 feet, but I am 5'11" and 3/4.
Yeah.
But you're damn right my hinge says 6 feet. You can count on that, right? But Victor Arvidsson, I believe, is 5'10". And he looks like a little man out there at points. We've seen it with Jordan Eberle. He was a guy that, was good in the regular season at points, but when you got to the playoffs, Eb's size, I think, was definitely a con. So Savoie's going to have to play smart. Another thing that Bruce had mentioned is that Matt Savoie's play along the boards, he's so smart and shifty that it gets him out of those jams where otherwise his size is going to be a problem. Coombsy, what do you think about Matt Savoie's size? Because he's 21 years old, making his Oilers debut here, and it's going to take him a bit to adjust to the NHL, size and speed. We've got a good look at Travis Sanheim for the last 4 games for Team Canada. He's going to be out there this evening. He could be line matching against Leon and Matt Savoie. Thoughts on Savoie's size?
Yeah, the key is really going to be the speed. Like, we've obviously seen a handful of undersized guys do well at the NHL level. Think Marty St. Louis, a guy with excellent speed. Brad Marchand, same kind of thing. Like, these guys survive in the NHL because they're smart. They know how to get into the right position. They can avoid hits. They can, be in the right spots they need to be in. And that's going to be the key for Matt Savoie. I don't know if we're going to see that in the next 2 weeks before the trade deadline and in his NHL debut. I don't know if it's just going to, hit immediately and land and work with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, because I don't think they're going to have Matt Savoie playing bottom 6 minutes. So if it doesn't work immediately on those top 2 lines, he's probably back in Bakersfield. But what will probably make it work for him, again, is that speed. Those are 2 guys that can throw the puck around the ice incredibly quickly in the offensive zone, and you need to have wingers that can get in and out of different spots very quickly.
Yep, I like this from Blath. I really enjoy this. Can we as fans not go crazy if he doesn't play as amazing in his first few games? He's played 1 NHL game before and 0 on this team with these teammates. Let him settle in before freaking out. We should apply that same logic I said about John Klingberg when he was coming in the lineup, yet we still overreact, underreact, we freak out. I'm going to tell all of us to take this chill pill, and then on Oilers Nation After Dark, we, of course, will discuss his performance and kind of do the opposite of that, but we're not going to freak out. Brett, you got something?
This is, I think, kind of along those same lines, why I think this line for Savoie is perfect. You get an absolute dog hard-working guy in Vasily Podkolzin.
You got to plow. He'll just plow through it. You get in
Exactly.
behind him and just...
And then you have the second best player in the world on that line. Just sit out there, go and do your job, do what's been making you so successful down the AHL right now, and you'll be fine. You will find your game exactly how you want it. I think this is a perfect line for him, and like you said, let him settle in, do his thing, but once he gets a couple shifts in, I think we'll see a little bit from him. But 100%, don't overreact if he can't do it in that first game.
Because then it just means Jeff Skinner might be able to get back in that opportunity as well. The point that I also make all the time, if Leon Draisaitl didn't want Matt Savoie on his wing, he wouldn't be on his wing. Okay, Leon Draisaitl has enough pull in this organization that he knows what he wants to play with. He has a say in that with head coach Chris Knobloch, and I think he must be excited. I mean, we all had Dylan Holloway penciled in this slot probably a year ago saying, especially in the playoffs, oh my God, Holloway and Draisaitl, they're going to be able to build for years to come. Maybe it can be Matt Savoie. Also, Cattleman said Cumsey spelt that way off. Not even close.
Careful.
Cumsey is what I'm just going to say there. Is sporting a sweet vest. Shout out North Face.
Yeah, I really recommend shopping at the Winners at West Edmonton.
Yo, what is this underneath?
That's a Lululemon.
Yeah, that is.
He showed up on the last show before when you were gone.
Where was I?
You were on vacation, I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
He was in a full tracksuit of that green. It went all the way down. His pants were the same. It was like he walked in a onesie.
Like he's wearing like a full like Adidas tracksuit.
It was
bald head. You look like one of those Russians that like do like the 100 on 100 fights.
Slab,
You know,
I think they're called.
those guys as well.
Yeah.
Well, shout out Cumsey. It's spelled Coomzy, people, because it's Cumsey. All right, let's move now to our need-to-know information, courtesy of our friends from Wilhauk Beef Jerky. Only the finest tasting meat products earn that sweet, sweet Wilhauk name. Made from 100% pure Alberta beef, their jerky is aged, seasoned, smoked, and marinated to savory perfection. Their jerky gladly fills orders of any size. You can find their jerky, sausage, and other products exclusively out of their Leduc location. Or for more information, head over to WilhaukBeefJerky.com. I'd say standings watch, but a standings refresher, because I think we've all forgot a little bit of what's been going on in the NHL and the Edmonton Oilers. That includes me, people. Until last night and today, I was like,
Four Nations mode.
who's the goalie again for the Edmonton Oilers? Just kidding. Of
Tommy
course,
Salo.
it's Stuart.
Careful.
Tommy Salo. Yeah, I can't open up the Stuart Skinner hate already, especially after the last game he had against the Colorado Avalanche.
We were talking about talking points before this. We were like, what are like the narratives that are circling around Oilers Nation and stuff before we did this thing? And I was like, oh yeah, Stuart Skinner is bad against good teams, and I could see the color come out of his face. He was like,
I don't want to talk about it. But Stu, I guess part of your need to know information will be the starting goaltender this evening in his last game. I mentioned it. It was a tough one. He allowed 3 goals on 12 shots. I was in Arizona with all my buddies.
you were in Arizona?
The discourse that it caused between 20 dudes of Stu allowing 3 goals that quickly, there was fisticuffs ready to be thrown, and I'm not going to lie, I was dead in the middle of all that, defending my boy like I usually am. But one thing we know about Stuart Skinner, he does bounce back more often than not, and you got to think this break for Stuart Skinner must have been good. Relax the body, relax the mind. I hope every single player on this team went out to Cabo, went on vacation, stepped away. I can confirm my mom went to Cabo over the break, and Corey Perry was on her flight.
Wow.
What?
So there we go. Hopefully he got a tan.
She-
We'll be able to see. We will be able to see.
I was going to say she better have, but I meant Connor. Anyways,
Mommy
I got
didn't
mixed
mean
up
that.
all the
Mommy
time.
didn't mean that. Standings refresher, though. The Edmonton Oilers are first place in the Pacific Division, tied with the Vegas Golden Knights at 68 points apiece. But the Edmonton Oilers, they have 1 game in hand. And people, there are only 27 more games remaining this season. We are hitting the stretch run here, people, which means we're going to be down here at Greta Bar way more during the NHL playoffs. The sun is shining right now. It's looking good. We're not done with winter yet, but I feel like we got through that rough patch, and now we're starting to see the other side. Another big piece of need-to-know information. The Edmonton Oilers tweeted it right around 10 a.m. Connor McDavid is expected to be in the lineup this afternoon. They tweeted out a photo of his Team Canada bag with all of the other hockey bags out there, and that got me excited. I tell you, Coombsy, if it was me, I don't think I would have had Connor McDavid playing in this game. If I was Chris Knobloch, he's played a lot of puck recently. Obviously had 2 overtime games in there, had the OT winner. Aside from all the physical effort he put out on the ice, I bet he's still got a 2-day hangover going on right now. I love Nathan McKinnon's interviews. They were like, what are you going to do to celebrate? And he just went, beers, plural. Beers, we're going to crush beers. And I was like, that's the most Canadian thing ever. Of course it is.
Can confirm there were a lot of beers.
And they were tall boys. They're all crushing tall boys
all
around
tall
there.
boys.
Shout out Connor
That sounds
McDavid.
great.
But so there was a tweet we also got here, I believe, from Mark Spector that he pointed out Connor McDavid flew back on the Philadelphia Flyers charter plane alongside gold medalist Travis Sanheim, gold medalist Travis Konechny, and silver medalist John Tortorella. Who am I?
Anybody, name any of them.
John Hellebuck.
Suck it.
But yeah,
I'd take both those 2 players on the Oilers, Sanheim and Konechny. I'd take either of them.
I would love to.
Maybe they did some tampering on the flight and not in favor of Philadelphia.
Ooh, dude, Travis Sanheim would be. I fell in love with Jacob Slavin in this tournament,
looked great.
without a doubt. He's the best shutdown defenseman in the NHL.
Sanheim would be a poor man's Parayko, like in a good way.
Like in a good way. What a backhanded compliment.
I was like, are you saying a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. He's not Colton Parayko, but he's basically like Colton Parayko.
Yeah. We were
Store
both
brand Colton Parayko.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No name brand Colton Parayko, which hey, it's a
President's Choice
bargain.
Parayko.
I still buy no name stuff all the time, but Connor McDavid will play. I'm curious to you. Would you have had him in the lineup?
I mean, I think it helps that they were just playing in Boston and now they're playing in Philadelphia, so it's a short flight. If they were coming back to Edmonton, I'd say no. Like, I know there's a handful of teams that are doing a back-to-back this weekend. Winnipeg's one, and those guys, Connor Hellebuck and Kyle Connor, those guys with their silver medals had to take the bus back to Winnipeg. So you're not going to be playing in those games on the weekend. That's a bit much. But for Connor McDavid, the Oilers are out on the East Coast, so not so bad to get in. But I think if you're Chris Knobloch, you're going to be load managing in this game. We're not going to see Connor McDavid play 23 minutes against the Flyers and another 21 against the Capitals tomorrow. I'd expect to see under 20 minutes in both games.
Yeah, I would think, and especially as you just mentioned, we got a back-to-back this weekend. 11 a.m. puck drop today, 11 a.m. puck drop tomorrow. Brett's shaking his head behind the camera right now. Matthew Wozniak is going to be joining me for pre and post on that one tomorrow. But the thing with Connor McDavid, yeah, I would expect a much lesser workload. But I shouldn't be surprised that Connor McDavid is in the lineup today, because that dude celebrated with the trophy for about 1.5 seconds. It was up above his head for what? Maybe 1 second.
Didn't even get the whole way up.
He didn't even extend his arms. Without a doubt, the moment he scored that goal, he celebrated, jumped up and down, much like me here at Greta. You put us side by side, we kind of look like the same person, just blacking out, not know what to do. Give it a couple minutes of celebration. You look in Connor McDavid's eyes, he was back on the Edmonton Oilers. He was then an Edmonton Oiler getting ready for that Stanley Cup chase, and he's locked in. He's going to be in the lineup again today. Very excited. And then I mentioned Stuart Skinner going to start for the Philadelphia Flyers side of things. Coombsy, you did game notes today, so if you have anything as well, jump in at any point. 24, 26, and 7 record on the season. 3-6-1 in their last 10 before they went. Why did I say that? 10? Whatever. Ignore
We get
it.
it. You don't have one anymore.
Shut up. 8th in the Metro Division and 26 overall in the NHL. So a pretty disappointing season for the Philadelphia Flyers. Both Travis Konechny and Travis Sanheim are expected to be in the lineup this afternoon, but Travis Konechny, I mean, he sat out the championship game for the Four Nations tournament. What do you think about him? Could he be a guy that, for me, Zach Hyman, Travis Konechny is the easiest swap I've ever thought of in my life.
Yeah. That'd probably be, I mean, I've said this multiple times when we've talked about it. I don't understand why Zach Hyman got left off of Team Canada. Like, you saw what the guy did in the playoffs last year and last season. He had a slow start to this season, and we all knew why he was having a slow start to the season. The Oilers went on a deep playoff run. He was probably banged up to start the year. I think when you're in a short tournament like that, chemistry is so important, because the thing we always talk about is, can these two guys who have never played together, or these three guys, come and form a line in the week and a half, 2 weeks that they're here. If you have players that have good chemistry already, like Zach Hyman and Connor McDavid, and it's not like Zach Hyman's some slouch that's nowhere near the international level.
Scored 54 goals last season.
Yeah, like it was justified that Chris Kunitz played on the Olympic team in 2014, and I think Zach Hyman's at a higher level than that. He's a 50 goal scorer in the NHL. So I didn't understand that one at all, and I think that's the biggest layup for Hockey Canada is just getting Zach Hyman on the roster. So McDavid has a winger that he's familiar with.
Did you see the clip of Biz Nasty saying, it was on Pardon My Take, #1 sports podcast in the world, besides Oilers Nation Every Day and Oilers Nation After Dark and Oilers Nation Real Life and Oilers Nation Radio.
And Pregaming with Bordzy.
That's not a podcast.
Shut
Boom,
up, dude.
brother.
Grow up.
Learn your own show you produce, brother.
Just trying to give us some love. That's fine. Go fuck myself.
I totally forget what I was about to say, so we'll just continue moving along with that one as well. Some stats. Also, we're watching the celebration right now of Canada-USA. If you have Sportsnet, I'm sure you're watching as well. Jordan Binnington getting in the huddle right now. You got to love it. But the Flyers' offense this season leaves something to the imagination. I'll walk you through it. 24th in goals per game, 26th in shots on goal, 28th on the power play at 15.8%. Not very good in the defensive end. And then goals allowed, 27th in the NHL. But the crazy part, they're 9th in shots on goal allowed. So their goaltenders have not been bailing them out. Obviously, Carter Hart not playing for the Philadelphia Flyers. We're not touching that one. We're not getting into that. And also another debate could have been in there. But Jordan Binnington locked that shit down. And I wouldn't even think about Carter Hart at any point. Lance says it best. The Flyers are not a good team.
They're not.
Knock on wood. I don't really have any wood around here, but we know this. We've seen the Edmonton Oilers before against lesser opponents, especially in early day games. Coombsy, you did game notes today. Anything that stands out to you about these Philadelphia Flyers?
Yeah, the Flyers are bad. I mean, that's a pretty fair thing to say. I think what Lance said there is pretty much sums it up, but they're a team that's kind of in a weird little middling retool. And they traded some players away well ahead of this year's trade deadline, Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee. So they're even less than what they were early in the season. The Oilers played the Flyers early in the season, and it was Edmonton's first win of the year, and they were losing that game in the third period. It took a fight from Troy Stetcher against captain Sean Couturier to turn things around, and Leon Draisaitl scored in overtime to win that game. I mean, even though the Flyers are bad, they're still a John Tortorella coached pain-in-the-ass team, and this is a matinee game on the road in Philadelphia on a Saturday. It's never going to be an easy win in this kind of context. But when you look up and down the Flyers roster, Travis Sanheim leads the way, and that Matvei Michkov, the rookie, is second on the team in scoring. I think he only has 34 points. And, you know, there isn't much offense here. All of their goalies have a sub-900 save percentage.
Sorry, Banjo guy just walked in the bar, and he's fucking dressed to the nines.
I couldn't tell what was going on.
He's dressed to the nines right now, brother.
I thought you were reacting at first to me
So
talking about like Matvei Michkov's 34 points, and I was like, it's not that exciting. It's not.
Dude,
that's borderline Nail Yakupov, brother.
It's a fine rookie season. It's not that bad, but anyways, yeah, that sums it up. Flyers are mediocre.
Yeah, they very are. You get a couple names that might be on the trade market in this Philadelphia Flyers
team. A whole
team.
bunch of names you wouldn't even really recognize.
I mean, we're looking through this right now.
There's Tyson Forrester, Bobby Brink, and Noah Cates.
Ryan
that's a creative
Poling.
Player's second line.
Yeah, that's a CPU if I've ever
that's
seen
5
a
years
CPU
deep
before.
into a franchise GM mode, and these are creative players that have been invented by the game.
Also, one thing to mention, Andrei Kuzmenko will be playing again tonight, I believe. Or shit, I said tonight. Today, Andrei Kuzmenko, I believe, has only played one game for the Flyers since being acquired. Obviously, we're told he's buddies with Matvei Michkov. By daily faceoff projections, Kuzmenko's on the top line with Lawton and Konechny, and then Michkov's on the third line with Ryan Poling and Jacob Peltier, the former Flame. There you see it on your screen. And then finally, Sam Ersson is expected to get the start in this bad boy. 16-10-3 record with a 2.81 goals against, 896
he had a
save
great
percentage.
game in the Four Nations, didn't he? He was
against USA, 32
USA,
saves, 33 shots for a 970. Hello.
He had the highest save percentage in the tournament.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, he did. Actually,
He should have won the MVP.
Shout out Sam Ersson. And snubbed. Makes you think.
Does the Matvei Michkov deployment kind of actually remind you of Nail Yakupov? Because you think about Nail Yakupov, the fact that he's on this third line when you take a look at these lines, and he's playing with Jacob Peltier and also for former first-round pick Ryan Poling. That is horrendous.
They got to find their own Derek Roy.
They got to find something. But
shout out Derek Roy, man. Shout out
the
Derek
nail
Roy.
whisperer.
This feels kind of similar to Matvei Michkov shouldn't be playing bottom 6 minutes. I think it's kind of similar to Nail Yakupov, and I think that has something to do with the coach. Kind of similar to what was happening to Nail Yakupov back in Edmonton as well.
Nail had a good rookie season with Wreck-It Ralph Kruger, and then when it went to Dallas Eakins, it was just game over. He just didn't fit.
Wreck-It Ralph Kruger? How have I never heard that in my life
That's
before?
my favorite thing ever.
That's fantastic. Also, somebody mentioned Owen Tippett. According to Daily Faceoff, is day-to-day. We probably know right about now if we check the Flyers Twitter, but we'll get there in just a moment. Show's already flying by. I missed you guys so much. Let's get into our Sherwood Ford Giants storyline this evening. Brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the Giant for a reason. Hockey fans, helping hockey fans, free valet service for all Oilers Nation fans. Never visit the dealership again for car service. Get an exclusive swag bag package with every Nation valet service booked online and be automatically entered to win a monthly prize draw. Book online at sherwoodford.ca. Make sure you add in Oilers Nation Valet in the pickup comments to get in on the draw. Oilers Nation fans, your hockey destination is Sherwood Ford. My storyline heading into this one is, for me personally, forget everything that happened with the Edmonton Oilers. I'm excited to see how all this gels again, but my storyline would be the rust. Yeah. How are some of these players, and we know a lot of them, right? They've been back in Edmonton. They've been over on the East Coast now for a couple days here. They had been practicing together. I saw the Oilers practicing at the River Cree all together, having a good time out there, but there hasn't been competitive hockey for a couple of these guys, most of these guys in a week and a half, 2 weeks so far at this point. Curious to see what we're going to get effort-wise. I'll talk about some specific players in a second when we go through our Oilers lineup. It's all about that for me, and I guess can Connor McDavid pick up where he left off? Leon Draisaitl has a 7-goal lead for the Rocket Richard Chase right now. Can he pick up where he left off? What's John Klingberg going to look like out there as well as he's gotten more comfortable with this team, and I would hope one Darnell Nurse. Coombsy, you got a storyline, or I'd say a key to victory, but this seems pretty – on paper, pretty straightforward and simple. The Oilers, so many areas they can take advantage of this team.
Yeah, the key to victory is just play better than the Flyers. Just be yourself, and you're probably going to win. The Flyers, again, like we just ran through, aren't a particularly good team. But like you just said, the stories are kind of going to be how much energy does the team have coming out of a 2-week break? They should be well rested, but are they going to look rusty? I think the most interesting thing coming into this game is the Matt Savoie angle. How is he going to look in the top 6? Is he going to charge up Leon Draisaitl? Is he going to kind of add a spark to that line with Vasily Podkolzin? And are we going to see other wingers? Are we going to see Jeff Skinner roll through that line? Are we going to see, is Victor Arvidsson playing? Are we going to see him on that line eventually at some point? I think that's kind of what I'm looking for, is how much shuffling there's going to be. What situations is Matt Savoie going to play in? That's what I'm interested to see.
Brett, you got the updated lines here?
Reese is about to do it.
Attaboy. Shout out Reese, shout out Peyton, shout out the entire team. Shout out Coombsy's wife, your wife,
his wife.
She's also watching us over there. Shout out, married man, show off
very
the
nice
ring, baby. Look at that. One ring to rule them all.
Looking pretty cool.
Well, I'll wait till he brings it in there, Brett, or you know what, I'll just read it to you because you just asked me a question.
we got a super chat.
Oh, a brother! Super chat alert. Woo, woo, woo. All in support of the Ben Stelter Foundation, a cause incredibly near, incredibly dear to all of our hearts, and the entire reason why we are down here at Greta Bar at 10 a.m. because it's brunch for Ben today. Places never look better. We got blue and orange balloons all over the place. We love all of you. We missed out on 2 weeks here of Ben Stelter Foundation donations. Ben Stelter Foundation donations. Try and say that a couple times. But, Brett, hit it for me. What do we got from Bob Stauffer? $6.99 says, woo, what a ride. Davo is coming back from this in God mode. Let's get it. Only thing that sucked about Four Nations was no pre-gaming with Bordzy. I love you all. I missed you all as well. People, you're going to get a lot. You're going to get a lot of Bordzy from here on out till the end of the Stanley Cup Finals. There, I'm saying it. Also, Coombsy, they're going to be getting a ton of you on pre and post game. You're on the schedule for like half of the remaining games.
Yep.
Let's ride,
Lots
brother.
of me.
Let's ride, brother. Bert, you got it for me now?
It's about to come in.
Okay, well, the question you asked me is where we mentioned, was Victor Arvidsson going to be in or out of the lineup? Yes, he is going to be in the lineup. And Jeff Skinner, gets shafted again, baby. So it's going to go Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, top line. Second line, Pods, Dry, Savoie. We knew that. Top six locked in. Your third line is Victor Arvidsson on the left wing. Adam Henrique centering with Connor Brown, which means Jeff Skinner will play on the fourth line with Matthias Janmark and Corey Perry. Your D pairings, Ekholm is in with Evan Bouchard, Nurse with Klingberg, Brett Kulak with Ty Emberson, and Stuart Skinner behind the pipes. Initial reaction. What has Jeff Skinner got to do to get a consistent spot in this lineup? Because right before the break, he was playing fantastic, not only offensively, but most importantly, defensively. He was back checking. He had prevented a number of goals in the last 3-4 games before that break. And here we are starting this one. Gets sent down to the fourth line here in favor of Victor Arvidsson, a player who I think has been struggling way more than Jeff Skinner, but who knows? There's been a break. Your thoughts on that?
That looks like a fourth line that could actually score some goals. You
It
got
does.
Corey Perry there too. Corey Perry and Jeff Skinner. I think the weak link is Matthias Janmark on this one, unfortunately. I like Janmark as the penalty-killing winger, but him down the middle as the center, I don't necessarily love that. If this might be a spot where the Oilers look to upgrade ahead of the trade deadline is their two bottom six centers. Henrique in the third center role with that line there, Arvidsson and Brown. That looks like a good defensive checking line, but that fourth line looks like it could score if they had a better playmaking center.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, Matthias Janmark, we love him because he's a chameleon. I've mentioned he can play wing, he can play center.
I hope they give him some minutes.
He can play with Connor McDavid at points. Yeah. Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I just said hope that fourth line gets some minutes because I think they could score.
Dude, absolutely. And arrested Corey Perry, you got to think his gas tank is full right now, and he'll let it rip out there. Ryan S. says, I'd switch Brown and Jeff Skinner. 1,000%. I don't know what Nobby thinks about this and why Jeff Skinner cannot get a consistent spot. I see some people in here. Lance, Jeff Skinner needs to change his name to Connor. Maybe he will get a chance. Oilers acquire Connor McSkinner. That is a good point. Jay Skins disrespect in here as well, Darian. At least he's in. I thought he'd be a healthy scratch. I kind of set that up like he was going to be a healthy scratch. No, he's just on the fourth line. And then we do got to move a little quicker here because I also have to MC this event. I just got handed this, and I don't really know what any of this says, but we'll do it on the fly. We do this show on the fly. One thing I want to mention, the break, right? I don't think there's a player on the Edmonton Oilers that needed that Four Nations break more than one Evan Bouchard, right? It's been an up and down season, to say the least, this year, and we all know what he's fully capable of. Bouchard has played a lot of hockey in the last 365 days. He's been up, down, all over the place this season. We've seen good spurts. We have seen mind-numbing mistakes at points, but I hope he went to Cabo. He wasn't on the flight with my mom, but hopefully he went out there as well. Also got a tan. Bouch could probably use a tan. And then he was able to step away from hockey and kind of stop thinking about it, reset the mind, because I kept saying there, we know what he is capable of. And around this time last season, I'd say more in March and April, we got to see the Evan Bouchard that we loved in the NHL playoffs, the guy that was playing both ways, maybe not defensively physical, but defensively responsible with way less of those mind-numbing mistakes. I'm very curious to see what he can do tonight. He might be featured in Bordzy's bankroll, more so because I'm trying to bet it into existence that he's ripping pucks on net, not into shins, on net. I need those pucks to be on goal. But thoughts on Evan Bouchard as we get into this final third of the NHL season, I'll say.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride thus far. Like all of the stats point to a very big, good, overarching picture for Bouchard that he's contributing positively. I think we all agree the Oilers are better with him than without him. There's no doubt he's their best puck mover. Without him, the offense would be considerably worse. The power play wouldn't be as good. But on the defensive end, it's lapses in the defensive zone. It's errant passes up the middle, things like that. Even plays at the blue line in the offensive zone sometimes. Weird passes that he makes onto an opponent's stick. Fans just want to see Evan Bouchard play a more consistent game. And I think now that you're through the halfway point of the season, through the Four Nations, you can kind of see the playoffs, the light at the end of the tunnel. It's just now time for him to lock in and be the exact player that he was this time last year. Because if he does that, then, he's a restricted free agent this summer. He's going to sign a big, huge contract. And if not, then I don't know. We're going to probably find ourselves back in bridge contract territory.
There's millions of dollars on the line here for Evan Bouchard. He's going to get paid, so we don't have to worry about his future ever again. But there is a couple dollars. If he does what he did in the playoffs last year again,
How much do you think the Four Nations impacts that, though? I know we kind of got to go here, but how much do you think the Four Nations impacts that? Wasn't included in there, but then you also see guys like Travis Sanheim, Josh Morrissey, other guys that may be a little bit more comparable. I'm not saying Sanheim is, but just a guy who was on that team. Thomas Harley, I think, is a great example. Who is on that team and probably outplayed the way that, I mean, this is purely hypothetical, but how Evan Bouchard probably would have played, especially in his own end. Do you think that impacts his contract at all?
Not his contract, but I think it will impact Evan Bouchard's mindset 100%. You got to be an alien if you watch that championship and you were a Canadian hockey player on the bubble and you didn't want to do everything possible to get on that squad. We heard Dylan Larkin talk about we need pros to come to the World Championships to commit to this stuff, and it is competitive out there on the defensive end for Canadian defensemen, and Evan Bouchard's right on that bubble. You got the Olympics coming up. But once again, $1 million on the line as well. Also a Stanley Cup on the line. So Bouchard, hoping to see him turn it around. Let's go now quickly to our starting goaltender report, brought to you by Sherwood Power Sports and Marine, home of the $50 bi-weekly ATV, where you could be on a boat for as low as $105 bi-weekly this summer. Hockey fans helping hockey fans with motorcycles, quads, e-bikes, and boats. So it's going to be Stuart Skinner against Sam Urson. I mentioned Skinner in that last game. He was bad, brother. He was not good against the Colorado Avalanche. They started the second period. Not gonna lie to you, I was several beers deep at that point, and I'm looking at the net, and I'm like, that's not Stu. Oh, that's Calvin Pickard, because I see Nobby had said he'd seen enough. But Stuart Skinner, I mentioned, he's bounced back repeatedly. That is one of his best assets. You're always going to have bad games. You mentioned it. Might not play the best against the best teams in the NHL. But good news, Coombsy. The Philadelphia Flyers, as we've said a couple times now, are not good.
Well, I mean, it seems like maybe that's why they set it up this weekend. Maybe you get Stuart Skinner going against the easy team in Philadelphia, easy team.
Yeah.
And then you let Cal Pickard go against the Washington Capitals, who are, competing for the President's Trophy. Maybe that's what they have to do. But that was one of the big talking points coming into the break, is that Stuart Skinner's save percentage against the top 10 teams in the league is all the way down at, .860? So that's something that that the Oilers need to figure out in the next couple of months.
It's not ideal when I'm a
because you're going to be facing
supporter.
A lot of top 10 teams in the playoffs. That's
you
what
will
it's all
be,
about.
and especially as you get down to this run here. You got the Pacific Division on the line, and then as I mentioned, Sam Urson. He's got good numbers this season, but I mean, for the Philadelphia Flyers, good numbers. I will see. He's got an above 500 record, but .896 save percentage. Let's go now quickly. Greta Bar Yeg away lineup brought to you by Greta Bar, my favorite spot in the entire city. And we're here for Brunch for Ben, so I want to shout them out as well. Thank you to all of the nation's citizens and Greta Bar for the incredible support in letting us do what we're doing today, because this is awesome. There are so many kids here in Oilers jerseys right now. Maybe you can probably hear the air hockey in the background. That's the one sound we can't get out of these headsets when we're here at Greta, but it's going to be a great day. Family fun, all ages. We got a coloring contest for the kiddos. We have a goalie mask coloring contest, which, am I judging that?
Ooh, I can help.
I'm not much of an artiste, so I'm just going to be like the one that says Bordzy. I'm going to be like, yeah.
I used to do
I'm
that.
a theater kid, but I'm not
not a painter.
I'm not a painter. I'm not a Picasso.
As a kid, I used to draw and make hockey masks. So I'm all over this. I might even join the kids.
Yeah, we should. Oh, shit. We should color, and then we can let the chat decide afterwards.
Nice.
You're on.
Bang,
bang, bang. But don't worry, people, if you missed out on this one, because it's sold out, because the nation citizens are the best. Hey, we got plenty of events coming up. It's going to be an awesome time throughout the next couple weeks and months. Brett, you just want to do Flight Night right now?
Why not?
Bang. Hit it for me, brother. We got Flight Night coming up, presented by Fountain Tire. I forget when the date is on this bad boy. I can't believe it doesn't say the date on it right there. I'll get it for you a little bit later, and I'll let you know. But you could win a chance to come on the nation vacation just by hanging out with us. More details to come. I'll fill you in on Oilers Nation After Dark. Brett, now hit it for me. The Philadelphia lineup. We'll go through it quickly, and then we'll blast through Bordzy's bankroll, because we're back. We are totally back. Here you see top line, Andre Kuzmenko with... Sorry, moving along here. Scott Lawton and Travis Konechny. Second line of Tyson Forrester with Noah Cates and Bobby Brink. That's a great name. That's a great alliteration name. Jacob Peltier, Ryan Paling with Matvey Michkov. Nick Delorier. Maybe we'll see a scrap this evening. this afternoon with Sean Couturier and Garnet Hathaway, another guy who is known to drop the mitts. Cam York with Travis Sandheim, Nick Seeler with Jamie Drysdale, Igor Zamula with Erasmus Ristolainen. Future Edmonton Oiler, Erasmus Ristolainen, question mark?
Yeah, that's interesting. I thought they might be showcasing Ristolainen a bit more on a top pair as opposed to playing him with whoever that is.
Yeah. So, Brett, hit me to the forwards here. My player to watch, I'm just going to say Andrei Kuzmenko. We know what he's capable of. We've seen him score a bunch of goals before. He was a guy I really wanted to be on the Edmonton Oilers. Didn't they take him to Joey Bell Tower? I'm pretty sure when he was doing his free agency thing.
We all thought he was signing.
Can't believe he didn't sign after Joey Bell Tower. I've shut that place down more than enough times. Who's your player to watch when you look at this roster?
Scott Laughton's an interesting one. That's another name that's kind of popped up as a trade possibility. The Oilers haven't been mentioned as a team looking at Scott Laughton. It's mostly been, I think the Leafs and the Jets have been the teams that have kind of come up in that discussion, but he might be somebody that works well for the Oilers, that kind of third, fourth center who can also play some wing. That's somebody I've got my eye on. And then also just out of interest is Matt Bamichkov. It's unfortunate he's playing on the third line, but I understand what the process is for him as a player and what they're trying to do, but I'd like to see him get a lot of minutes. It's a fun player to watch.
Do we see Matt Bamichkov get benched this evening with John Tortorella behind the bench? Who knows?
Possible.
Always possible. It is always on the table. March 14th is flight night. Shout out Maddie. Shout out Brett. Shout out everybody. We got so many events coming up here at Greta. And then I mentioned
hard to keep track.
The playoffs are coming right around the corner. I make the joke that they have a bed that just drops down. They do have a literal bed here for me, so I could just live at Greta and move in. And frankly, I wouldn't be complaining, but it's time for it. I know what you're all here for. Bordzy's Bankroll brought to you by Bet365. Because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. What does that spell, Coombsy? Nation. That's right. Rusty's in.
I wasn't really paying attention. I was like, I really hope that's what it says. I hope that's what you were spelling.
Also Mackay and Dry says March 14th is Pi Day. It is 3/14. That is 3/14. Bert, hit it for me, brother, because we are back. Zach Hyman, over 2.5 shots on goal. That is minus 125. He's on the top line with Connor McDavid. You don't need to overthink it here. I think Connor McDavid's been in a shoot first kind of mindset for a bit. I wouldn't be shocked to see him pass first in these next two games to try and, like you mentioned it, not as much ice time, try and dip your toes back in. And I think Zach Hyman will be a beneficiary of all those things. The second one, it's truly a gut feeling. Evan Bouchard over 2.5 shots on goal at an even minus 110. Reese the intern loving that because he's been living and profiting off of the Bouchard shot prop. They just can't hit the shin pads. They can hit the goalie's pads. They just can't hit the shin pads. And then finally, it's a Leon anytime goal. He leads the league in goals, 40 in 55 games. He's scored in 7 of his last 10 games with 9 goals in that stretch. Let it ride. He's been watching the best players in the world. He's had to listen to everybody say those are the best players in the world, while he needs to be cashing my plus 450 Hart Trophy ticket. Shout out Bet365. Coombsy, you look at these 3 bets. Which one do you like the most?
I like the Leon Draisaitl one. Oh, yeah. Liam's just walking by outside. That's funny. Leon Draisaitl one. He's going to have Matt Savoie on the wing with him. A rookie appearance. I think that's going to inject some spark, some life, some vibes. So that's the one I'm going for. I think that's the. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee because you can't say that, but that's a good bet, a good choice.
Evan Bouchard moved to minus 105. We like that. You parlay them all together plus 700. Why don't we just kick off Brunch for Ben with a check mark, and then let's let it ride over into tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. People, I got to go get on the mic here and talk to all our fine nation citizens who sold out this entire bar. So I love you all. Be sure to get in to the Oilers Nation After Dark chat during the game. It's been a minute. I missed all your takes in there as well. Coombsy and I will be live from the bed right after the game for Oilers Nation After Dark breaking down.
Still going to be light outside.
Yeah, it's still. This is the best.
Oilers Nation,
I love day games when you do pre and post because it means I actually get an evening. Now I have to do the same thing again tomorrow evening, so we'll see what state I am in for that. But you know, Bordzy, I will always power through.
From your bed?
Oh, should I just do it from my bed?
Saucy.
I'll give you a house tour. I'll just go around and do everything. I love you all. Big shout out to our sponsors, Sherwood Ford the Giant, Sherwood Power Sports Marine, Greta Bar Yank, Bet365, Willock Beef Jerky, a couple others. Can't really remember them all. Come to all those events that I mentioned. Trade deadline March 7th. I love you all. I missed you all. And we will talk right here on the Oilers Nation YouTube channel right after the conclusion of this hockey game, where hopefully Connor McDavid scores another overtime winner. Peace out, everybody. Love you all.